The next issue we want to address in examining the approach to self-defense in the Krav Maga system is the issue of not just dealing with the most immediate danger in a given attack, but dealing with all potential danger. For instance, using the same example of choke from the front, if Michael were to defend himself by just making this plucking motion from here, maybe now he has a different fight on his hands. So the idea is wait a minute. Is it possible for us, as early in time as we can, to deliver a injury-causing or a powerful counterattack that will at least stop any future or potential danger that lies next in the order of sequence? So that we know something about the person who is attacking us with a choke. We know that that person, the attacker, must also have balance. We know that that person will be standing with his legs at least as wide as his shoulders, or their shoulders, I should say. So from this position, we know that no one comes to attack you with a choke standing in front of you like this, from here, hiding themselves in the groin area or their feet close together, because this would be a very weak position. They must have a base, a foundation from which to function. So knowing that, we decide early on, well, wait a minute, if we're going to make a defensive movement from here, a plucking action, we're going to make a simultaneous counterattack. This counterattack will deal with or shock the person that's attacking us enough to stop any future attacks, to stun him so that we can continue with additional counterattacks, so that all future or potential danger down the road is dealt with immediately. So we combine the self-defense movement with an immediate counterattack. So the technique grows. From the front, what are we doing? From this position, from here, Michael giving, from this position, an immediate counterattack. Look from this angle. Because my legs are wide, as Michael defends, he's sending his leg straight up, which catches the underneath of my groin, causing me at least an initial stun, at the very least. And Michael then can follow up with appropriate counterattacks, take me down, control, or just simply leave the scene. The issue here is eliminating not just the first danger that was around your throat, but the person dealing with the attacker, not the hold that the attacker is making, but dealing with the attacker, to enable that person to continue to cause you danger or damage. It is extremely important that our training is realistic. It must be safe on one hand and as realistic on the other hand as possible. It is also true that we must know how to operate from varying states of readiness. For instance, if I'm at a distance from Michael and I want to attack him with a choke, and he sees me, and he's aware of me, and I come at him to choke him, from this position, he should not let me get to him to choke him, despite the fact that he knows a good choke defense. In other words, if you see the attack coming and you are able to be ready for it, just because you know a good choke defense, you don't let someone choke you. We are trained in combatives. We're trained in blocking techniques. If you see a choke that's coming your direction, you move out of the way. You redirect the hands. You attack with punches and kicks. You don't stay and wait to be choked. However, we recognize two things. Sometimes our attention is diverted, and people can capitalize on that and reach us and choke us, and we must know how to defend against that. So we're not quite as ready. We're surprised. Or it could be, possibly, that we saw the attack coming, but we froze in that moment. We're unable to stop it on its way, and now have to deal with the problem in its place, the choke itself. So if I reach Michael and I choke him, maybe he was looking off in a different direction, and I choke him, now he must know how to defend himself. The concept that's of crucial importance is the concept of defending yourself from a position of disadvantage, meaning that we allow ourselves to defend from being in a weak position against a strong attack, an example could be that Michael is not ready to defend himself, and the choke comes in such a way that the choke is delivered not just in its place, but with a strong push backwards, which we will address in this tape. As I push Michael from here, he falls backwards. The defense must be made as we fail, as we are falling back, as we are in a vulnerable position. Because what does it mean that someone got to you and reached you and are choking you? You may not even realize you're in danger until you're already falling back. If we could defend from that bad position, from that position of disadvantage, then we can defend from a more ready state. We must practice training from a position of disadvantage. And by understanding these varying degrees of readiness, we can understand how to bring realism, how to bring true-to-life danger and real-life attacks into the training drills. The defensive exercise that we're going to present now deals with an attacker that is going to choke the defender. The choke is delivered in such a way that the defender remains in their place. However, the power of the choke is such that my thumbs, as the attacker, can crush the front of the trachea here. The defense must be swift, it must be effective, and it must be based on instinct so that there is no injury to the front of the throat. The attack looks like this, where my thumbs, again, as I mentioned before, can apply extreme pressure in a very short period of time. John has entered the scene to apply this frontal choke to Marnie. As he's applying the choke, you can see that there's pressure being applied to the front of Marnie's throat. This pressure is the pressure that can crush the front of her trachea. Marnie is making a plucking, instinctive response to this danger, freeing the front part of her choke. As she is doing that, she's delivering a knee or a kick to the groin area of John because it's open. It's a target area that's available. She follows up with further strikes, palm strikes to the face, further knee strikes, and a possible elbow strike to the back of the head or the neck. At this point in time, she's free to leave the scene because she's safe to do so. In this view, we can see the choke applied to the front of Marnie's throat. The thumbs are applying pressure to Marnie's throat. She must act quickly with this plucking response. She's plucking at the hands of the attacker. This view presents the legs of the attacker, and please note that there are spread, and this is because the attacker must be balanced and strong when they apply the choke to the victim. This allows for Marnie to make the plucking movement for the defense against the choke and deliver a simultaneous attack to the groin area of the attacker. If the attacker is at a distance, the foot or shin area will be striking the groin. If the attacker has his bent arms during the choke or is smaller, that will necessitate delivering a knee to the groin area as the counterattack. When the attacker is close, the knee will be delivered as the counterattack. Here, Marnie's making the plucking defense and delivering the knee counterattack to the groin. This drops John's body, and Marnie attacks with palm strikes to the chin and her fingers towards John's eyes. Again, Marnie's defending the choke, plucking, delivering a knee, following up with counterattacks. And again, another knee is possible here. Because a knee is delivered to the groin, John has dropped as far as his height and his weight is concerned. This presents a valuable target to Marnie towards the back of John's head or his neck. She's hitting with elbow strikes to the back of the head or neck if John is close. If John happened to drop at a further distance, downward hammer fist punches would be appropriate. And at this point, Marnie is free to leave the scene. Now we're going to present this exercise to you in real speed, in real time. The defense is presented in stages so that you can learn the technique as it's broken down. The pluck is stage 1 and can be repeated over and over again until you learn it. Once you feel comfortable with that, the first counterattack can be delivered simultaneous to the defense. As you see, Marnie is plucking and delivering a sharp knee to the groin area because that's the area we know will be vulnerable.